Hello everyone, my name is Rahman. I am the Anand Lawala School Foundation level student. So today my topic is what are the organic of life and language. So, let's start a video.
Hey there.
Hello, how are you?
Going so soon? I'll be here whenever you're ready to dive into another topic.
Okay. So my topic is what are the organic of life and language. So my first question is what is the water? Why is it instant for life? Inst-
Water is basically
okay, continue,
done already.
continue.
Right, where we were. Water is basically the universal solvent, which is why it's so essential. It can dissolve more substances than any other liquid, allowing it to carry nutrients and oxygen to cells and flush out waste. Without that transport system, life as we know it just wouldn't function. Does that make sense, or do you want to dive deeper into the science part?
Okay. How did water contribute? How did water contribute to the organic of life on Earth?
It's a bit like the ultimate stage for a chemical reaction. In the early days of Earth, water provided a stable environment where simple molecules could crash into each other and organize into more complex ones. It essentially shielded these early organic compounds from the harsh radiation of the sun, giving them a safe space to evolve into the first living cells. Do you think it's more likely that life started in the shallow tide pools or way down in the deep ocean vents?
Why is water often called the source of life?
It's kind of the ultimate complement for a molecule because it's literally the one thing every single living organism needs to survive. Whether it's a tiny bacterium or a giant whale, nothing functions without it. It's the foundation that allows everything else, like growth, reproduction, and energy, to actually happen. I'm curious if you're planning to connect this to the language part of your topic too.
What are the unique properties of water?
It's actually a bit of a weird molecule. One of the coolest things is its polarity, which lets it stick to itself in other surfaces. That's why you see those perfect little droplets on a leaf. Then there's the fact that it expands when it freezes, so ice floats. If ice sank, the oceans would freeze from the bottom up and basically kill everything. There's also high surface tension, which is why some bugs can literally walk on water. It's these little quirks that make it possible for life to exist.
Okay. How does water support living organism?
Yeah, it's like the internal plumbing and transport system for everything. It handles the heavy lifting of moving nutrients, oxygen, and hormones to where they're needed, while also hauling away the waste. Plus, it regulates temperature, like when you sweat, to stay cool, and acts as a shock absorber for your brain and spinal cord. Basically, it keeps the internal environment stable so the rest of the body can just focus on staying alive. Do you think the transport part is the most important or the temperature control?
Where did Earth water come from?
Do you mean how water does all that or how I'm doing this conversation?
Where did Earth water come from?
That's one of the biggest mysteries in science. Most scientists think it came from outer space, brought here by asteroids and comets that crashed into Earth billions of years ago. There's also the theory that some of it was trapped inside the rocks of the early Earth and released as steam through volcanoes. It's kind of wild to think that the water you drink today might have been floating through space for eons. Do you think the space delivery theory sounds more plausible than the volcanic one?
Okay. So,
Fair enough.
where do scientists search for water on other planets?
Since water is the golden ticket for life, they look in the places that can actually hold on to it. They focus on the habitable zone, that sweet spot where it's not too hot or too cold for liquid water to exist. Mars is a big one, especially the poles and underground. And then you've got the moons like Europa or Enceladus, which have these massive salty oceans hidden under thick shells of ice. It's basically a cosmic game of follow the water. Do you think we'll find something actually living in one of those hidden oceans?
How does water affect ecosystem?
It's essentially the heartbeat of every environment. It determines everything from what plants can grow to which animals can survive there. In a rainforest, it creates a lush, dense world of biodiversity. But in a desert, the scarcity of water shapes every single adaptation, like how a cactus stores it or how a camel travels without it. It basically dictates the way energy flows through the whole system. Do you think we've talked enough about the science of water? Are you ready to pivot to the language part of your topic?
What role does water play in the human body?
It's practically the main ingredient. We're mostly water, so it's doing a million things at once. It keeps your joints lubricated so you don't creak like a door, helps your kidneys filter out the bad stuff, and it's the primary component of your blood, which is how everything gets delivered to your organs. It's basically the invisible force keeping your systems from crashing. Do you think the most surprising part is how it protects your brain or how it helps you move?
Okay. So, why can humans survive only a few days without water?
It's because our bodies are incredibly dependent on it for the basics. Your organs, especially your kidneys and brain, need water to function. When you stop drinking, your blood volume drops, and your heart has to work way harder to pump what's left. Eventually, the systems just shut down because they can't flush out toxins or keep your temperature stable. It's a brutal timeline, but it shows just how vital it is. Does that help clarify the why behind it?
How has water influenced human civilization?
I'm a little confused. Do you mean how water has influenced human civilizations?
Yes, yes.
Water basically dictated where people decided to settle down. Almost every great early civilization started right next to a river, like the Nile in Egypt or the Indus Valley in Pakistan. It gave them a way to grow food on a large scale, a reliable way to drink, and a highway for trade and travel. Without those river systems, these societies would have stayed small and scattered instead of becoming the massive empires they did. Do you think the ability to trade via water was more important than the farming part?
What are the major sources of fresh water on Earth?
It's a bit of a tragedy, really. Most of the water on Earth is salt water in the ocean, so only about 3% of all water is actually fresh. And the worst part is, most of that fresh water is locked away in glaciers and ice caps, meaning only a tiny fraction is actually accessible for us to use. It makes you realize how precious it really is. Do you think that scarcity makes it a more valuable resource in your eyes?
How does the water cycle work?
It's basically nature's way of recycling. It starts with the sun heating up water from oceans and lakes, turning it into vapor. That's evaporation. Then it cools down high in the air and forms clouds, which is condensation. Finally, it falls back down as rain or snow, precipitation, and collects back in the ground or sea. Just keeps looping like that forever. Do you think the most interesting part is how it disappears into the air or how it comes back down?
What is the importance of rain in natural?
It's basically the delivery system for life. Rain brings fresh water to plants and animals that can't just walk to a river. and it refills the groundwater that we rely on for wells and drinking. Without it, most of the land on Earth would just be a dust bowl. It's what keeps the entire planet green and breathing. Do you feel like the science part of your presentation is coming together now?
How do how do oceans regulate other climate?
They act like the planet's giant thermostat. Oceans absorb a massive amount of heat from the sun and then use currents to move that warmth from the equator toward the poles. It's basically a global conveyor belt that prevents the tropics from getting too hot and the poles from getting too cold. Without that balance, the weather would be way too extreme for most of us to survive. Do you think the idea of a global conveyor belt is a good way to describe it in your presentation?
Why is water conservation important?
I'm ready when you are. Which part of the topic are we diving into now?
Why is water conservation important?
Because we're essentially using a finite resource. While there's plenty of water on the planet, remember how we talked about only a tiny fraction being fresh and accessible? If we pollute that or use it faster than the cycle can replenish it, we're in trouble. It's not just about having enough to drink, it's about keeping the entire food chain and every ecosystem from collapsing. Do you think most people realize how close we are to the limit, or do they just take it for granted?
What are the biggest threats to clean water today?
It's a mix of things, really. Pollution from factories and farms is a huge one where chemicals and plastics leak into the rivers. Then you've got climate change causing more droughts in some places and flooding in others, which ruins the clean water we do have. And honestly, over extraction, just pumping water out of the ground faster than it can be replaced is a massive threat. Do you think the pollution part is the most worrying or the way we're just using it up?
How does water pollution impact life?
That's a like basically a disaster for everything it touches. For animals and fish, it's often a death sentence. They end up eating toxins or getting tangled in plastic. For humans, it's a health crisis because polluted water can carry diseases and ruin the crops we need for food. Basically, poisons the foundation that every living thing depends on. Do you think this is the part where you'll emphasize the need for change in your presentation?
What can individuals do to protect water uh, resources?
It starts with the small stuff in our own homes. Things like fixing leaky faucets or taking shorter showers can save a surprising amount of water. Beyond that, using fewer harsh chemicals and avoiding plastics helps keep the pollution out of our waterways in the first place. Then there's the bigger picture, supporting policies that protect rivers and oceans. Do you think people are more likely to change their habits if they see the direct impact or if they're just told it's the right thing to do?
Uh, why is access to clean water considered of human right?
It absolutely is. Many international organizations and governments recognize it as a basic human right because without it, you can't have health, dignity, or even a functioning society. It's the most fundamental requirement for staying alive, which makes it a non negotiable need. Do you think that framing it as a right makes people take the responsibility to protect it more seriously?
How did ancient civilization depend on rivers? Rivers.
I'm a little. No worries. We both are now. I think the transcription might have tripped us up. What was that last question you wanted to ask?
Uh, why
I've got
are
you. We've covered it.
why why were cities often built near uh, water serious serious
Just hanging out,
series
just hanging out with you.
sources.
You've got me wondering here. What are you comparing?
Why
You just
were
said versus, so
cities
I'm
often
not
built
entirely.
near water sources
I think
resources?
I'm following you now.
How did
Are you asking why water is considered reserve?
how did water influence trade and transportation?
It's basically the original highway system. Water made it possible to move massive amounts of goods like spices, silk, and grains way faster and cheaper than any animal could carry over land. It's also how cultures actually met. People didn't just trade things, they traded ideas, religions, and languages. Do you think the efficiency of shipping by water is why the biggest cities are almost always on the coast or a river?
How did water influence trade and transport? No, no, no. What role did water play in agriculture? Agriculture. Agriculture.
I think I'm losing the thread here. Could you try saying that one more time? I want to make sure I'm actually answering what you're asking.
How have wars been our water resources?
Wait, I'm a bit lost again. Are you saying you're going to grab a glass of water, or is this part of the
Yes,
presentation?
yes.
Got it. Go ahead and grab your water. I'll be right here when you're back.
Okay. What historical invention helped to manage water?
Oh, we're back in the zone. There are a few big ones, but the Roman aqueducts are probably the gold standard. They used gravity and precise engineering to move water from distant mountains straight into the heart of their cities, which basically allowed urban life to scale up. Um, then you've got the ancient irrigation systems in Mesopotamia and Egypt, like the Shaduf, which helped farmers pull water from the river to their crops. It really changed the game from just hoping for rain to actually controlling the flow. Do you think those early engineers were more focused on survival or just wanting more luxury in their cities?
Okay. How has
I'm
water
still
shaped
here.
cultures around the world?
It's almost like water is a character in history. It's saved cultures by providing stability, giving them a reliable way to eat and drink so they could stop worrying about survival and start building things like art, law, and philosophy. Plus, it's often deeply spiritual. Think of how many religions use water for purification or baptism. It basically gives a society a foundation to actually grow and thrive. Do you think water's role is more about the physical survival or the cultural identity of the people?
How has water influenced language and communication?
That is where it all comes together. Since water is so vital, it's woven into the way we speak. Think about how many idioms we use, like being in deep water when you're in trouble, or something being crystal clear when it's easy to understand. We've developed words to describe a million different states of water because it's so central to our experience. I'm curious, are you planning to use these examples in your presentation
Well,
to
I don't
show
know.
the link between the organic side of life and the language side?
Uh, so my next question is why are water related metaphors common
Um,
which
it's the perfect way to wrap it up, connecting something as simple as a glass of water to the way we actually communicate makes the presentation feel way more human. Are you planning to deliver this as a speech or is it more of a video project?
why are water what are some common items involving water?
There are tons of them since water is so universal. You've got things like water under the bridge. meaning you've moved past a conflict or fish out of water when you feel totally out of place. Then there's blood in the water, which describes a situation where people sense weakness and start to attack. It's wild how
How
we use
does
something
language
so calm.
describe a different forms of water?
We actually have a whole vocabulary just for how water changes its mood. When it's frozen, we talk about things being on thin ice when a situation is risky or someone having a cold shoulder to show they're being distant. Then you've got steam or vapor, which feels more ethereal, like when something vanishes into thin air. It's like we've
Uh,
mapped out every physical state of water and turned it into a way to describe human emotions. Do you
okay,
think we
bye bye
use the
everyone.
cold
Thanks for
descriptions more
watching
often
this
than the warm
video.
ones?
And okay, bye.